Welcome everybody to Sustainiacs Season 1, Episode 4.
Wow,
it's
we're
4 already, dude.
Expressing right along, aren't
Hey, happy anniversary, dude.
We've been having fun.
we have been having a lot of fun. If you know what this is, leave it in comments. If that was a stupid question, leave that in comments too, because I just figured out how to get comments on.
Yeah.
While you were getting ready for this, I went in and I looked, and it's because I had, yes, all my content is good for kids. Apparently, if your content is okay for kids, no one's allowed to comment.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day.
So I just learned that. So if you're having problems with your own YouTube channel, there's a tip for you. I'll give you my Venmo number later, and you can send me some money on that, or send it to Bruce. In a few minutes, we're going to be talking about we're going to be adding on to the last one, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because you came to me after the last one and said, Mike, we got to talk a little more.
Well, we were talking about tuning keys and tuning stability.
Yeah.
And it's very important to note that the tuning key is not the be-all, end-all of tuning stability. There are several other issues.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with designs. When you start talking about the Fender headstock or the Gibson headstock, the design of the headstock makes a difference.
Okay, let's do that.
Traditionally speaking, the Fender has a nice straight string pull in this one
Oh,
plane.
yeah, all right. I always thought that this was just, hey, Leo found something cool. Right, a shape.
Well, I mean,
was it intentional this way, or was it the shape and then he accidentally it was awesome?
I think he was smart enough to realize that these strings.
I would guess so too, right?
But when it comes down to what he discovered, intentionally or unintentionally, it's a little hard to say because, in my opinion, this is obviously a very realistic tip of the hat to Paul Bigsby's guitars.
It is,
which have an overly large version of this headstock.
It's more like the bass version of this.
Yeah, it's something like that.
I mean, if you got that Squire over there that's got a huge one, right? That Squire over there's got the basic same headstock as this, but it's massive.
It's massive. But if you go look at a Bigsby, you can see that this is a smaller version of the Bigsby.
Gotcha.
And this plane where the string goes across here straight, that obviously they were thinking that needs to have a nice straight string pull. They were probably looking at the Gibson and looking at that split D and G and realizing that pressure on the nut was causing that little extra binding problem that shows up there.
Let me
ask the other problem with a Strat is when you look at it this way.
Yeah.
Now the strings are in a completely different angle. Okay.
Sure.
So you look at it this way, every string's at a different angle going across the nut.
Uh-huh.
You see?
Yes.
So that changes the pull, the downward pull of each string in the nut. So if you were to measure that with, say, like a fish scale and lift each string, you would notice that each string would have a different amount of pull.
Yeah.
Downward
right.
pull.
Yeah.
Well, that also translates to friction and binding.
Is that why the bracket here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he wanted this down further.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, and there's so many different ideas have been created to combat this issue.
Okay.
The standard tuning keys all have the same post height.
Mm-hmm.
So, knowing that, you've got to have, because this is so long, you've got to have something to pull this down in order to keep this from buzzing and rattling in the nut, because it will. Without that.
So I don't know what you'd call this, the angle or the slope of this string from the nut to the tuning bar.
I've always called it the break angle, but
okay, that's fine. The break angle has got to be steep enough.
It's got to be steep enough to provide down pressure so that this has a clear, clean note. Otherwise, it'll resonate beyond the nut, and it'll have a sympathetic vibration that doesn't sound good. It makes the guitar sound sitar-ish. Not obviously they didn't intend for that to happen, but it just happens.
Yeah.
That said, Floyd Rose started doing pressure bars, which has a secondary function for the locking nut. And then there were people who started doing staggered post keys.
So even with the locking, because I was going to ask you that, the locking nut seems to me like it would take care of that. but the
okay.
pressure bar is even better with
me-
the locking nut.
Yeah, let me try to explain this.
Yes, please.
The locking nut, the area that the string goes over is actually curved.
Okay.
Okay?
All
So
right.
here's the problem. Let's say that your string is coming across, but the post is high enough that the string is sitting off it, and there's like a distance there. There's a wedge-shaped air space between the string and the back of the nut. So the pressure bar brings it down. The importance of this is when you go to put your lock cap on there and lock it down, it doesn't bend the string into place. It just locks it down because the string is laying completely across that curved surface. Okay?
Gotcha.
So instead of locking it down and having the string go up in pitch on you, see, it doesn't change pitch when you lock it. If your string
No, I
lock
get
is
you. I get you.
changing-
I totally get
If
it.
it's changing pitch,
So yeah,
there's a problem. It's
I'm
misadjusted.
going to have to find pictures of that and put that up there. You got
Yeah.
locking? Do you have locking nuts?
Yeah, we do.
Okay,
I'll
get
have
some.
to take some microscopic pictures of them because they're.
I'll get it up close and we'll do it. We'll take it without it on there because that's all we need. Is if you take the lock off there, you'll see that thing's round. I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get exactly what you're saying. It's kind of like
it's
the
simple-
ball on the end
simple
of the
physics.
string that Floyd Rose cut off.
In a manner of speaking.
In a manner of speaking,
Right.
because you're just adding more time. Okay, I get it. That makes a lot of sense. So this is a superior headstock, it would appear, for this friction point.
It is, if you
and
compare
this
it
is
to
a
a Gibson.
necessary thing compared to a Gibson.
Compared to
or
a Gibson, it is
I mean, we're
definitely
picking on
superior
Gibson, but
headstock.
it's anybody with a split is inferior to this.
Yeah, in my
Right?
opinion, it is. But this is also inferior as compared to a tilt back version of this headstock that also has that same string pull, but it also, when it has a tilt back, it relieves this constant, because like the low E is one angle, the A is another angle, the D is another angle. See what I'm saying? See how each one of these has a different height angle
yeah, mhm.
on it, break
Yeah,
angle
yeah.
on it? You would like to have all 6 of them exactly the same in both planes, this way and this way.
Like my Martin.
No, your Martin has that
No,
2x4 split headstock, or I mean,
Yeah, it does,
3x3
but
split
it
headstock.
comes, but it's back angle.
That, yeah, it does have the back angle, but it also loses on the split. See?
Okay.
So that's one of the
So I
tricky
got
things
one out of
about
two.
guitar design.
I got 1 out of 2.
Almost all guitars do. That's one of the
Almost all
things that I
guitars got
complain
1
about.
out of 2. Is
Yeah.
there such thing as an acoustic with that type of a headstock, with a straight line headstock?
I have seen some stuff with a good straight line
Or-
headstock. Believe it or not, this Yamaha bass right behind you is pretty close to that.
So this is. I'm glad you pointed this out, because see that design right there, how those are there.
They're straight that
They're
way.
split, but they're straight.
They're also
It-
have the same angle this way.
They're at a cone and it's back. So that bass has solved it both ways, right?
Well, Yamaha's a really good company. They know
Oh
what
yeah,
they're doing.
yeah. They've been making musical instruments for a while, right?
Absolutely.
And not just like guitars.
Yeah, right. No, they make
They
everything.
make everything. Make a lot
And
of
get
stuff.
you a motorcycle.
Get yourself a motorcycle, a trumpet, a recorder, and
now
a bass.
Now they're making electric motors for cars.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
that's
badass.
crazy, isn't it?
It's pretty badass. It is pretty, and this is a beautiful guitar, by the way. So those are the friction points that are there, right? So really, the basic thing you can do is talk to somebody like yourself and understand how to use the files. But you need the gauge files. You would need 6 different gauge files, or does it
Yeah.
come like a
Well,
set?
there are some companies that make some small files that look like little pieces of wire. You know, it's a little round gauge file,
Oh,
and they're fairly cheap.
Like a set of Allen wrenches. Almost.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually got a set back there.
Okay.
But,
But
We'll take a
that
picture of
helps.
those.
That helps with that.
yeah, because
Well,
anything
you
that
drop
cleans
by
that,
you drop by a place like
sure.
Hot Rod's Guitar on a Saturday and say, "Hey, dude, can you fix me up here?"
Yeah,
And you're gonna-
absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, we keep the nut sauce in stock too.
Perfect. Perfect.
Not going there.
Yeah,
Not going
you
there.
already went there a couple times. All right, so let's go. What are we
It's not
talking
my-
about?
Exactly.
It is.
Exactly.
So what else are we talking about here? Intonation. What the heck is intonation? My
Well,
friend?
intonation is
You
actually
want me to pull that
simple,
down?
simple but terribly important.
And
I
I'll get a
we need to
picture
do
of what
2
we're
things.
talking about here. But you
We need to do 2 things. We need to have the nut and the bridge in the shot.
Oh, we do. Okay. Well,
Okay. Here's why.
They are now
the
both
distance,
in the shot.
The distance between this last point on the string and this last point on the string is very critical.
And you're not talking about not this.
I mean the actual saddle.
the saddle.
Where the string actually is floating in midair between this point and this point.
He's talking about here.
Right.
Here.
Exactly.
To the nut. Yeah, gotcha.
So we all know that scale length it varies by design or designer, for that matter, and it doesn't really matter what it is as long as the 12th fret is always the middle of the scale.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you measure from the nut to the 12th fret and then from the 12th fret to here, and it doesn't match, it's not. There's no way this thing's going to be absolutely in tune. It's utterly impossible.
From the 12th fret.
Yeah, from the actual center section of the fret, actually,
Okay.
right where the slot would be.
Gotcha.
In the tang.
Yeah, the center of the fret, not the center of the fret.
Well, this is the fret. Let's say the fret wire,
Wire,
as opposed
yes.
to the.
I'm just
fret
trying to be
area.
as clear as possible to
Sure.
knuckleheads like me out there.
Understood. Understood.
There's a lot of us out there. Bruce.
Yeah, I get it.
And we keep you in business.
I won't argue with that.
So
But-
these need to be exactly the same distance.
That's your start point.
That's your start. Okay.
Okay.
So if I look at this, all these strings here,
Yeah.
I don't
Notice how
think
each one of these-
any of these strings are the same distance.
Right, and the reason why that is each one of these gauges is a different size.
Sure.
So therefore, and they all have a different amount. I mean, we all know that if you bend the string sideways, the pitch goes up, right?
Sure.
Well, it also goes up when you push it down.
Sure.
That's a stretch between
Mhm.
where it hangs in the rest point
Mhm.
and actually pushing it down to the fret.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you're compensating for this distance that you have to press down by moving this saddle either forward or back to readjust whether it's sharp or flat. Okay?
Okay.
And what you would like to be
So
able to do
how
is,
does one-
play a harmonic at the 12th fret, play the actual note at the 12th fret, and by a good strobe tuner, it should be exactly the
They
same.
should be the same. The harmonic and the pressed down note should be
Right. They should be
exactly the same.
flawlessly the same. If there's any deviation, then you need to adjust.
Then you need to adjust this.
Mhm.
So that's how you
Right.
and what do you call it?
Re-intonate or intonate a guitar so that it actually plays in tune with itself.
So let me ask you this though about the intonation.
Uh-huh.
Is it because it sounds to me, and there's probably a lot of people out there who have heard that term for the first time.
Okay.
Maybe one, because we have that fan.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
there could be a second person listening who possibly doesn't know intonation.
Sure.
Is that something that I've been playing for 6 years? Okay.
Mhm.
I don't consider myself a really good guitar player. I'm not. I'm
Okay.
decent enough. I can play in a band here and there, and I have, but I'm not great. Am I good enough to know that that's an issue?
Well,
And I need to re-intonate my guitar?
here's
and
what
if not, what am I missing that I should go, wait a minute, that's why?
Okay. All right. Let's try to take that. That's several questions.
What are
at
the
once. Let's
symptoms
see if
like
we can. Let's see if we can work that through that.
All right.
Generally speaking, when you get your guitar set up and intonated correctly, and with a fresh set of strings, because strings, when they go over these little saddles or over that nut, they get a little kink in them, and that alters the way it wants to
Sure.
vibrate. You know, the vibration flows through the string, and it kind of hits those little kinks, and it messes with it a little bit. Okay, so it's always wise to don't try to do intonation on old strings. Put fresh strings on there, then have it intonated. Okay. After
Makes sense.
that, if the guitar is set up correctly and the intonation is by the meters, looks good, then you should notice that the guitar will play in tune with every chord as you go up. It should not have any, you should not play an E and be in tune and play an A and it be out of tune. That's wrong. That's telling you there's an intonation problem.
Okay, so I've experienced that.
Okay.
Or I've played an open E. Would an open E and then an E at the night be the same thing?
They should be.
I mean, would if they're out of tune, would that indicate the same thing? Because
Yeah,
they're both
if
the same chord. It's just one's using the nut.
If they're
as
out
the,
of
as the
tune,
bar.
the intonation of the instrument is
It
incorrect.
is out of tune. Even an E to an E and stuff like that. So okay,
Absolutely.
I've noticed that, and
You
I've
should be
seen
able
that,
to
and
play
I've
G
got
chord.
yeah.
You should be able to play an open G chord
Okay.
at the 3rd fret, go up to the 15th fret,
Yeah.
and play that same chord with the open strings. So they're not
Yeah.
not fretted. They're down at the nut.
Sure.
So you should play that open chord and still sound perfectly in tune as it did at the 3rd fret.
Yeah.
It should be exactly the same.
Yeah.
If it's not, the instrument has an issue. Now, how bad the issue is, you don't know.
Well, intonation's not a bad thing, though. I mean, it's not a hard fix.
But I've had 3 people bring me guitars in the last month that were brand spanking new guitars, and I'm not going to mention the company who made them.
Please don't.
Because it was all 3. All 3 were in the same company.
Began with a G, didn't it?
No, it didn't.
F.
Learned an S.
Oh, ooh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
A very highly respected brand at this point in time. 3 guitars came through this shop, and they could not be intonated correctly. It's utterly impossible because the frets were mislocated. They were not where they needed to be. Now, I attribute that to jig shift, or whatever you want to call it, template movement. There's a sequence to setting up a guitar.
Yeah.
It's very important. The sequence is fresh strings, set your height, set your and at pitch. Everything has to be done at pitch. So when you put your fresh strings on, get it to pitch immediately. Set the string height, set the truss rod, and you're retuning each movement you make. You retune and make sure it's at pitch.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And the last thing you want to do is set the intonation. Okay. And the reason why is if you get any of that out of sequence and the height is wrong or the bow in the neck is wrong, it will change that distance that you're pushing the string down.
Your action.
And it will change your intonation.
So is that something that you do as a maintenance type of thing after a certain amount of time, or the first setup?
Yeah, I consider
how often do you do it?
I can. Well, it depends on how often you use your guitar.
I play my guitar every day.
Pro is going to probably do it, a minimum of once a month. Many times they'll do it more than that.
Really?
It just depends on how hard they play their guitars and what level of proness they're playing at. If they're a weekend warrior who's doing gigs on the weekend, once a month will probably get the job done, maybe twice if they're really hoofing it. A pro who's doing arena levels, every night, every other night, no, his intonation's gonna be set. Fresh strings every day.
Oh yeah, fresh strings every day.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. That's why they don't bother to clip them.
The guys who are just right. Yeah,
that's why you see them twirled up at the headstock, right?
I hate that. It always makes me feel like my eye's going to get poked out when I look at the guitar.
It does, but it also, some people probably do that because they know that people who know think, oh, he changes his strings every day. He must be really good.
Not a good reason to do that. But those people who are just playing maximum performance is going to require some maintenance. I mean, you wouldn't buy a brand spanking new Camaro or Corvette and immediately go take it racing. It's going to need a little something extra before you take it racing, right?
Oh, sure, yeah, and you're going to want to break in those
and
piston rings and everything else.
And right after you've done 5 runs, you're going to want to tear it down.
You're going to want to
change
tear
the
it down
oil, and there's work to do.
I learned that I need to know how to intonate my guitar because I don't know how to do it.
Anyone can learn to intonate their guitar. I think the biggest problem is that the equipment. And right now, it's the cheapest ever in history to do it on your own because you can go to the Peterson web store or Play app or whatever, and buy the Peterson strobe tuner app for your phone. It's like $9.99.
Yeah.
Okay. The fun part is Peterson sells you an adapter for $16 or $17 to plug your phone into your guitar. And you need it if you've got an electric guitar. Yeah,
well I just run it through my cord.
Well, that's the problem. Most phones have a 3.5
No. I run it through my tuner on my pedal board.
Well, if you can do that works. If you've got a Peterson strobe top or some other strobe top like Korg, they make a strobe top.
That's what I have.
Most of the pedal tuners that are like, they have like A, E, D, G, those kind of things, they're not accurate enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine's got the strobe.
Okay, if you've got strobe mode, it's probably pretty close.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that the Peterson app on the phone is good.
Spot on.
Yeah, spot on the money, no problems. It will measure slight changes in gravity. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. You can actually turn the guitar forward and backward, and you can see it go sharp and.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
that's pretty.
It's very sensitive.
Pretty sensitive, yeah, which is what you want. You want it sensitive.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you set intonation, you'd like to do the final setup in playing position.
Okay.
Okay, as opposed to laying
Makes
down
sense.
on a bench, because on a bench it will, the neck's resting on something, it's pushing the guitar, it's bending it forward literally.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little nit-nat details that people just don't think about.
No, they don't. They really don't. And shoot fire, dang. Rabbit holes, my friend.
Yeah,
Rabbit holes.
Very big rabbits. A lot of rabbits.
We're teaching some people stuff. Hopefully, you guys learned something. I learned something. I learned a number of them. What'd you learn?
I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out later.
Figure it out. Okay. In the comments, let Bruce know what he should have learned today, if you can.
I'm learning that you've got to have those comments on, and there's definitely a button to be.
Oh, there is, and I figured it out. I had it allowed, but then I said yes. All our content is kid safe, so I figured that was a good thing. No, it's not.
Well,
if it's
we don't
kid
have
safe,
any
you're not allowed to
Teletubbies.
comment. So now it is not kid safe. So we'll talk about Big Ben's nut sauce and stuff like that, I guess, and you can comment about said sauce
Absolutely.
if you like, and you can hit me up at.
So we can have a saucy video.
Yeah, and we also have a Gmail account now, my friend.
Ah, yes.
The
What is that?
Sustainiacs at gmail.com. So
Cool.
email us any requests or anything like that. You can even ask, hey, Bruce, what do you got in your store? And he'll say, hey, go to Bruce Bennett
Well, the
Music
best
Labs
thing-
anyways.
Yeah,
Or give him a ring.
the best thing to do is go to Reverb and look up Hot Rod's Guitar
There
Shop.
you go.
That's
Reverb Hot Rods. If you
Yeah.
don't remember that, hey, hit him up on the
Facebook.
Sustainiacs at Gmail.
Yep.
Facebook is what?
Facebook is Hot Rod's Guitar Hickson.
There you go. Hot Rods Guitar Hickson. We also now have an Instagram account that you didn't know about, but
Oh,
I
I did
opened it
not.
up today. It's the Sustainiacs
Very
Instagram account too. That
Man,
is
check us out.
rocking and hey man, we're almost to the 2000s.
Scary. 2000. Wait a minute. 2000 what?
I don't know. We were supposed to have flying cars by now. That's all I remember.
Oh, don't get me
And I'm
started
a little
on
pissed
flying
that we
cars.
don't have the flying cars yet, but we don't. Ocean7music.com. Ocean7 Music on the Tweeterizer.
When's those pics coming in?
Yeah, so talking to my suppliers today, and the stencils for the packaging, I approved them today. So I
Good.
should have packaging Monday, and I should have them later in the week or beginning of the week after that, before
That's great news.
before Halloween. Part of
Very
the issue
cool.
is that the inks and everything is made out of recycled material, and it's 100% recyclable. So the
Very
inks
good.
and all that stuff is a little bit difficult to come by, but
Yeah, I
it
can
is
imagine
it is what it is, And if you want it to look cool, it's a little bit harder to find colored ink that has
Imagine
been
it would be.
recycled. So it'll probably just be black ink on there. But hey, I'd rather not screw up the environment than have yellow ink and stuff like that. So that's
Yeah,
that's
I
what
got
it
you.
is.
No,
It
that's
is what it
great.
is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So they're coming. Anyways, peace and love, everybody.